Jawaballs! Okay, welcome to my new How to Paint videos. This is the first segment of the first video. It's been a while since I made these. My first sets were very popular, yet very elementary, and since I made those videos, my skills have improved dramatically. So I figured it was time to update, do some high definition video, some good audio, and get cracking here. So this first one, I am going to be painting a Games Workshop model. This is a Blood Angels Lamenter. And basically, this is how to paint yellow armor. Here we go. So this guy, I've already base coated him using the GW color Everland Sunset Citadel. Now, all of my new videos will be using a combination of lots of different kinds of paints, whether it's Vallejo or Citadel or Reaper. So be prepared to expand your paint palette. So for this guy, what I'll be using is the base Everland Sunset, the shade Cassandora Yellow, 2 layers, Uriel and Flash Gits. The Uriel is the lighter of the 2 shades, I believe. I forget. It looks like the Flash Gits is the lighter of the darker. Yeah, so Uriel is the lighter, Flash Gits is the darker. You need them both. White Scar, of course, it's a layer. And I have Abaddon Black. This is just the basics. Also, you'll need some Vallejo Glazed Medium, a paint palette. I use Reaper Kolinsky. Kolinsky is a type of Russian fox, Kolinsky Sable. So I use Reaper Kolinsky Sable 10-0 for almost all of my painting. All of my highlighting, all my detail work, everything. Reaper Kolinsky 10-0. It's a very versatile brush. You might also want to get yourself number 2 Reaper Kolinsky Sable brush. This has a big bristle, a big tip on it. Oh, I forgot to get water. A cup of water. My water's pretty gross. I need some fresh water. I'll get that in a few. What else do I normally have on hand? Sometimes I will keep a nice big brush on hand for big jobs like dry brushing, but I don't use them often. And that's really all you need to get started. Later on, I'll do some videos on how to do details like purity seals and such. So, you know, painting white wings, and on this guy, I'll be doing some checkers. So I'll show you how to do that. But pretty much for this set, here's what you're going to need. So you can take the time now to go on out and snatch up all those at the game store. Let me say again, Cassandora Yellow, Everland Sunset Base, Uriel Yellow, and Flash Gits Yellow layers, Abaddon Black, White Scar. Also, grab yourself Ceramite White if you don't already have that, and get some shades of red. I'll talk more about the other colors later. So, okay, let me stop and then come back. And I'm back. So here we go. Let's get started. As I said a few minutes ago, I've already done the base coating on this model. I actually used the Games Workshop spray gun. And frankly, I don't recommend it. So I'm not even going to put it on video. I was terribly unhappy with it. I probably spent about... The brush itself cost $35. Plus, I probably bought 8 or 9 cans of propellant to base coat 2,500 points of Lamenters. And... so I spent about $140 to do base coating, and it was ridiculous. I do have an airbrush. You know, you could spend $140 on a fairly good airbrush. Spend a little more, and then you've got it. So I do not recommend that Citadel brush. It worked. It did its job okay for what it was, but it was finicky. It required a lot of use or a lot of care to use it. And frankly, you could do better with an airbrush. So spend that money on an airbrush instead. What I really suggest, if you don't have an airbrush, just use your number 2 brush and Just base coat your model. Get a nice even coat. I started with black as my first prime. I would probably go with white if I was you, to make the base coating easier. Using a black requires more layers of base coat. So really, if I was you as a new beginner painter, I would probably pretty much go all white as your first prime, and then paint the entire model, because we're going to go back in on this one and hit the details with black later on, which is what I would suggest you do. Normally when I do my competitive models, I paint black, and then I paint individually each armor piece with my base coats, leaving the black in between so I don't have to go back in and paint them later. I like that precision. But that takes a lot of time, and we're not going to get into that here on this video set. So let me start. First thing I will do now is Abaddon Black. I'm going to paint all the details with this color. I usually, when the pots are the type that stay open, I don't know what they're doing. Hopefully they're going to all of this new type of pot where they prop open, so you don't have to deal with opening it every time you want to dip your brush. But I'll keep it open. Or I'll pull some out and put it on my palette. And then I'll just start. Ain't no thing on the big chain sword here. Just paint it all black. I'm not going to record all of this. This is just kind of tediousness and housekeeping stuff that you have to do before you can really paint. All the detailing. And I would like to keep these videos on the shorter end. My old videos I painted in real time. And they were very popular. However, they were huge as far as file size. Many, many gigs. And I want to try and compress these video sets so I can offer them all on one DVD. That's my goal for them. Alright, so let me go on and paint some of the other small bits so you can see what I'm talking about. All right. When you're painting, less is more, especially when you're doing detail work. Can you see what I'm doing there? Yeah. You want to get the least amount of paint on your brush as possible. And don't try to push it. When it starts to kind of stop painting fluidly, dip it again. You can see the amount of care that I'm taking with painting this. This is what it takes to paint at a top level. Yes, I'm still licking my brush. I've been trying to break myself of this habit, but I can't. Normally, I will dip my brush in water before putting it in my mouth to get rid of excess paint that's on it. But right now, I'm honestly using so little paint that, it's not a huge deal. Licking your brush is something that I actually picked up from White Dwarf. They suggested it as a means of keeping the points of your bristles nice and pointy. Oh, I messed up. I find it very difficult to paint like this so that you can really see well. This model is a Death Company model from the new Blood Angels kit. It is actually going to be part of my new Lamenters army, my Assault Marine army. I'm trying to paint the part in between the armor plates here. Really difficult to do from this angle without making a mess of things. I will attempt the eye on camera. Extremely difficult to do. Let's see. Can you see? All right. Having a pointy brush is priority here. Whoops, I botched that one. It's actually not a, I painted over some of the rim of the armor, but that's not a huge issue because as I do my layering, I will fix that. The eyes were the hard part. Now I'm going to just go through and paint the purity seals. With this black. All right, let me finish up the details and I'll come back. More to come. Okay, I'm back. So it's really a very difficult and kind of tedious thing to do. I'm going to do the last couple of touches right here with the camera. Doing the lining by hand, the black lines in between the armor plates, it is not easy. And it's very important that you just barely get the tip of your brush in the paint. You're going to make mistakes, a lot of them. Believe me, it is not easy to do this. But it's the final look is worth it. I've got a fairly steady hand. I know it's hard. So what I did was I went around, I did all the lining in between the armor plates, the cuffs of the wrist, the leg things here, the little armor plates on the leg. On the back of the legs, there's a couple of squares I did lining for. On the jump pack. And I did the weapons, and all the details, the purity seals, the blood drops. I painted them all with black. I didn't bother with the skull yet. I'm not going to bother with the crosses from the Death Company markers because this is not actually a Death Company Marine. He's a regular Marine. So there he is. Now all the lining is finished, all the detailing. Using my Abaddon black straight from the pot. The next step, after I wash my brush, is the first wash. And I will use Cassandora Yellow for this purpose. This is a nice dark shade. Now, you have two choices here with the brush you want to use, depending on how long you want to take. Let me say this now, that you are not going to paint top-level models in just a few minutes of time. It's just not going to happen. Some people can. I sure cannot. And most of you have to expect that you're going to spend at least a full hour per model in your army just to make it look good. Then if you want to compete, you're going to have to spend a couple of hours. So you'll notice here on this guy, I'm not sure if you can on the camera, that there's certain spots where I kind of messed up with the black underneath here on his leg, on the thruster port, right here by the blood drops. I'm going to be able to fix that with my layering as I put the yellow on. So I'm not too worried about all those. On his the grill, on his mouthpiece, definitely I messed up with the black. So it's not that big a deal because the layering will cover most of those little blotches that I missed up. All right, well, let's go with the yellow. So depending on my mood, I will either just use my big brush and blotch the whole model, or I will use my fine detail brush to very precisely layer in some shade. So when you dip your brush into the yellow, notice how I paused for a minute while it was in there. The brush actually works like a hypodermic needle, and it sucks up some of the wash. It holds a lot of it. So then I can go in and very finely place the wash right where I want it. This is for when you need to be precise. You don't want to get the yellow on everything. In this case, I'm just kind of showing you this as an example of how to do it. I'm going to actually use the big wash brush for the model. There will be times when you need fine detail. In this case, not really. I'm just going to wash the whole model. So I'm going to use my thick brush, get a bunch of the wash, and just coat him. What this does, especially for Lamenters, is it kind of turns the yellow into more of a mustard tone. If the wash collects in the crevices, causing the crevices to appear darker, creating a natural shadow that you don't even have to worry about blending to create. I don't know if the little on my readout up there on my camera, I can see that the details for the image, the camera was blocking me. So I hope that was showing up on the actual video. You know, like the record button and stuff. So I'm doing a pretty liberal layer of Cassandora shade on this model. Really letting it pool up in the crevices. This stuff is your best friend. I will do probably 2 or 3 coats of this as I paint. I'm going to work around here. See how I let it pool up right up in there? You do need to be kind of precise with this. You don't want to just blob it everywhere. I'm making sure to let it draw over some of the recessed areas, but you don't want to make a mess as you're using it either, though. When you use it, just kind of drag it over the edge, and the edge will catch it where you want it to be. See how I did a swirly motion over the thruster here? I really want to get it in there good. I think that's just about everywhere on this guy. Get his leg. Okay. There he is. Now, if you wanted to just do a quick paint job, all you would really need to do is a base coat with the Averland Sunset. Spray it white, Averland Sunset base coat. Give it a wash, and then hit it with a few highlights of yellow, and you would be done, of Uriel yellow. But we're going to go much beyond that. But this guy is already close to being tabletop ready. A few highlights and some detailing on the weapons and stuff, and he'll be done. Just so you can kind of get a sense of where you want to gauge your own painting. So, all right, I'm going to let him dry, and I'll come back in a bit and go on with the next step. That was, I missed a spot of his leg. Cassandora yellow after doing black detailing. I suggest if you're painting a squad, paint the whole squad to this level and then do the wash all at once. It'll be quicker for you. Wash every model at once. All right, more to come.